Hi, my name is Chris. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing Leetcode problem 482 license key formatting in JavaScript. It's considered an easy problem. Okay, you are given a license key represented as a string S that consists of only alphanumeric characters and dashes. The string is separated into n+1 groups by n dashes. You are also given an integer k. We want to reformat the string such that each group contains exactly k characters except for the first group, which could be shorter than k, but still must contain at least one character. Furthermore, there must be a dash inserted between two groups, and you should convert all lowercase letters to uppercase. Return the reformatted license key. Okie dokie, so for our first input here, first example, we got all this business happening here, and we have k of 4. So what we want to return is this, and you'll notice that this is now reformatted so that the first 4 characters are together, then we see a dash, and then the next 4 characters. Notice that all the letters are now uppercase, so that E is now uppercase. So let's look at example 2. We have k of 2 and this going on here. This is our result. Like the setup here, the first group can be less than 1, right? Then these other groups are equal to k, so 2. We got dashes in between, of course, and again, the letters are now uppercase. All right, so let's tackle this guy, and I think it makes more sense to grab this one. To experiment with. So we're going to copy that, go over to CodePen, create our 2 variables. Oops. And then k variable. There's our variables. Let's create our function. We'll just call it func. For now, let's return s and log into the console so we can see what's going on here. We should see s, and we do. Good. Okay, so I'm going to tackle this problem in 2 primary ways. I guess you could say 3, really. I'm going to break the problem down into 3 smaller problems. Really 2, but well, I'll talk about that in a second. So first thing we need to do is we're going to loop through this string, and we're going to get rid of all the dashes. And then we're going to convert all the lowercase characters into uppercase characters. That's the first thing we got to do. And in order to do that, what we're going to do, because let's grab a result here. Here. It's always nice to have this in front of us. Okay. And then we're going to go back, we're going to loop through that, and we're going to add the dashes in the correct place. Okay, so because this first element, or first segment I should say, doesn't contain less than k, right? It doesn't have to equal k. I think it makes more sense to go ahead and reverse the string while we're getting rid of these dashes and making uppercase letters. And let's go ahead and change that to a lowercase. Oops, what am I doing? I'm sorry, never mind. There's lowercase in the variable. I'm looking at the result here. All right, so we don't need to do that. Yeah, so if we reverse this and then loop through it again, we can say, after every k element, so in this case every second element, we add a dash, right? And then, you know, this reversed, so let's just look at this real quick. Actually, you know what? Screw that. Let's just do step 1 first. And that way we can just see this. So we're going to create an array, and we're going to split that array, or split the string, sorry, and then we reverse it like that. That's the first thing. What did I do? I forgot to put S in there. Okay, cool. So now we have this array, and it's reversed. So then what we can do is we're going to create a variable called result. It's going to be an empty array. Now we're going to use the map method to loop through the array. And here what we can do is we can use an if statement and a regex to check for basically numbers and letters, right? So we're going to say if so if it's a lowercase letter, or if it's an uppercase letter, or if it's a number 1 through 9, right? We run the test on it, and we're testing our character. And if this equals true, right, we result dot push our character, right? So now if we return result, we should see our string reversed minus the dashes, and we do. Now we need to make sure that we uppercase any lowercase letters, and you know, if it's already an uppercase letter or a number, it's not the two uppercase method is not going to do anything. So we can just go right ahead and put that in there, and then any lowercase letters, yeah, are going to be uppercase. So now our G is uppercase. Great. So now we got that. So now let's talk about putting the dashes in there. And now that we've talked about that too, the final step will be, of course, to reverse this so it's in normal order and then join it together as a string. And we can just do that in the return statement. So this is our reverse result without dashes. So now we loop through that, and basically after every second element we add a dash. So every second element, because k is 2. So 1, 2, we add a dash, 1, 2, we add a dash, and we're left with 2. Then we can just reverse it and join it, and we're good to go. All right, this is the trickier part, I think, in my opinion. So I'm going to initialize a variable called counter, and we're going to set it to 0. Now what we need to do is we need to do a for loop. So we say for let I equals 0. If I is less than result dot length, we increment I. Let's make sure this is working okay. So I'm going to do I and result I. Cool. There we see all of our characters and their indexes. So, one thing that we need to account for, okay, let's say that, this was our string, right? Well, what's going to happen is you're going to get a dash here, and then another dash at the end, right? And we don't want that. So, well, and also I should mention, let me back up. So what we can do is we can say if counter equals k, so in this case if counter equals 2, and result, and I does not equal result dot length minus 1, then what we do is we're going to use the splice method to at the at I plus 1, because result is, or arrays are 0 indexed, right? So we need to come in at index 2, right? So if I plus 1, we're replacing 0 elements and we're adding this dash. Now I'm wondering why that's not. Oh. Yes. So we also need the increment counter. So we need to say if I does not equal result dot length minus 1. I'll explain why I'm doing this in a second. Counter plus plus. Okay, now we see a dash. Okay. But then here, if we insert a dash, we need to reset the counter to 0. Right? Cool. Now we got some more dashes, but we're not seeing what we want. That's because we're adding an element to the array, right? So it's messing with where the index is. So every time we add that dash to the array, we also need to increment, index. Cool, and that's exactly what we want. Let's take this out for a second. Can't remember why I put that in there. I think there's a edge case in which we need that. Are we going to see it here? Nope. We're going to do one more thing. Maybe we don't need that, because I can't remember for the life of me why I put that in there. I'm going to try this real quick. Maybe this will explain what I was thinking. No, that's correct too. I can't remember why I put that in there. Let's run this without that and see what happens, because we don't need it. We don't need it. Go ahead and copy it. Let's format it. Let's run our code. Run the test, I should say. Okay. Oh, forgot the last step. So we need to say result.join. No, you need to reverse it first because you can't reverse a string. So result.reverse, right? Dot join. All right. Cool. Let's grab our new return statement. Bring this over. On the test work. Let's submit. All right, I guess we didn't need that. Fantastic. Cool. All right, so let's go back to the code here. I just want to make sure this all makes sense. So we got this counter, 0. Actually, I'm going to come back over here. We have this counter is 0, right? So we go into our for loop, which is looping through. We have the old one. Let's grab so I can explain this. Copy. Yeah, let's take the first variable. Cool. Okay, so this is our reverse result without dashes, right? So we have counter 0. We're looping through that reverse result, right? First thing we're going to do is we're going to increment counter. Okay, so at this point, at the first iteration, counter is going to be 1, right? So right here, so we don't do anything because counter needs to equal k. So the next iteration, we increment counter. Now it's 2. So counter now equals k. So now we need to do something. So we need to result dot splice I plus 1, so we're moving up 1 index, right? Placing 0 elements, and we're adding this. Okay, so now we have a longer array, right? Well, then we reset our counter so that when we come back into it, we can keep this going, right? But because we have a longer array now, because we inserted something into it, we also need to increment I, so that we're not stuck on this dash here, right? Cool. And then this here, if I is not result.length, we're going to do this, right? Because if it is result.length minus 1, the result you would have is you would have that, right? And we don't want that. I'm sorry, no, you wouldn't have that. You would be putting it here, right? You would be putting it after the last element, so then your output would be that once you reverse it, right? Okay, hopefully you found this video enjoyable and helpful. If you did, please like it. It helps my channel grow. If you'd like to see more like these, please like and subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you again real soon.